So I learned that tonight Mantle are hosting a creative writing event at Foyles to teach you all about how to get published, and I figured, you know, I have the in here, we're already at Pan Macmillan, I should get the scoop before anybody else does and share it with you guys. So I am joined today by one of our experts.
So I'm Sam Humphries, I'm Associate Publisher at Mantle.
I am the publisher of Mantle, and Mantle is an imprint within Pan Macmillan. It is a hardback imprint, and I launched it nearly 7 years ago in May.
I'm sure everybody is as curious as I am to find out how to get published. I thought I'd jump straight in and find out, what is it you look for when you are reading a manuscript?
First and foremost, I think I look for something that engages me as a reader, but also I think I am reading as an editor and a publisher, and I need to know, I think, what I would say about the book if I was talking about it at our sales conference, say. So I've got a 2-minute slot, and if I can't think of something that I would say about that book, then it's probably not for me.
I'm looking for something that sort of keeps me awake, which is a very pedestrian way of putting it. But I read so much, and I can't remember how many submissions I have read in my almost 35-year career in publishing. I mean, it must be thousands and thousands. But I'm also what I call a completist. And if I want to finish reading a book, it means it's something about that book which has sparked my interest. And usually it's character, situation, story and plot. And story and plot are two very different things, which the great master explains beautifully in this book on writing.
So everyone should buy this?
Yeah, everyone should read this book. I adore Stephen King. He is a great writer. He is a fabulous storyteller. He knows everything there is to know about delivering entertainment and other emotions to his readers. I would say to any author or anybody wanting to write their own book should start by reading this book.
Okay, that's
and
really
he
practical
explains,
advice.
It is practical advice, yes. And I shall talk about it. You know, every time I talk to aspirant writers, you know, they should always read the greats. And that's what Stephen King says in this book. Don't be scared of reading other people. You will find your own voice, but you'll never be a writer without appreciating other writers.
Do you need an agent to submit to a publishing house, and specifically Pan Macmillan?
We don't officially have a slush pile, so for Pan Macmillan, yes, everything that comes in theory, is agented. And I think that agents can be really invaluable anyway, actually. You know, I think they are very, very good at, you know, sort of knowing who to send your book to. They have very good relationships with certain publishing houses and or editors, and I think they can also play a really important role, you know, in sort of cover discussions, title discussions and things like that. So you don't necessarily need an agent, but I think if you can get one, it makes it a lot easier.
So do you have any opinions on creative writing courses and the benefit of them? Should writers look into
I've
creative writing
taught
courses?
creative writing courses, and what I would say to anybody involved in creative writing courses, the first thing you have to do is be prepared to work incredibly hard. First time I did it, I sort of thought, oh well, I'll just, you know, have a nice time at this lovely weekend manor house and, you know, glide around and drop a few bombs to authors. But within the first hour, I was in a state of terror. There are some authors who write the first book and it becomes a massive bestseller, but that's like winning the lottery. And I do want to, if I may, recommend another book.
Yes, please.
And this is not, I don't think, as crucial to aspirant writers as the Stephen King. It might give them a little bit of an idea of what to expect once they become, you know, published authors. And this is I hope this is still in print, but it's a biography of the greatest editor who has ever lived. His name is Perkins, and he works for Scribners in the last century, way before the Second World War. But he discovered F. Scott Fitzgerald, he discovered Ernest Hemingway, he discovered John Dos Passos, he discovered Thomas Wolfe. And what this book does is tells you the daily nature of his work, and it shows his complete and utter commitment to his authors. And although it's set before the Second World War, the principles on which he worked still hold true today.
Does your book need to be finished and fully written before submission?
No, it certainly doesn't. I only publish fiction, and a lot of the time with fiction it is sort of, you at least have a whole draft, although that even then that's not always necessary. Non-fiction is different, and I think a lot of the time it's not finished and you have just a proposal, but I can only really speak about fiction. I have bought books on partials, which is what it's called when you have kind of an incomplete manuscript. A lot of the time I think I would only buy a book on a partial if it's by a tried and tested author, because I think it's one thing to start a novel and another thing to finish it.
Well, if it's by an unknown writer, I tend to be very wary, because when you get a first novel that's sent in and it's complete and you love it, you never ask yourself, how long did this author take to write this book? If you buy an incomplete script, you will find the answer. And if it takes that author 3, 5, 10 years to finish it, that's not great news for building their career. Because we at Mantle are very much about building writers' careers.
Would you typically take on a new author with one book, or would you prefer to sign them with multiple books?
If you have an idea for a second book and it's something that you'll like, then I think a lot of the time if you're investing in an author at the start of their career especially, then it makes sense to do a 2-book deal. I mean, it depends a lot. I think there are some authors who like that security, some who would rather have a 1-book deal and kind of wait and see what happens. But I think a lot of the time, you're, as a publishing house and as an editor, you're investing a lot of time and money in publishing 1 book. So actually, if you can make it about kind of starting a career rather than just that 1 book.
Is there a point usually within a manuscript when you know that that person has a distinctive voice, and whether you would consider taking it on?
That is a really, really difficult, interesting, tough question. What I know is I do get a fear when I'm reading a submission and I'm loving it. My fear is, can this author sustain this amazing voice, this amazing story, these amazing characters? And the sort of sense of excitement when you get to the end, knowing that they have, is it's a lovely feeling. I also like to. I mean, I've worked with authors who need a lot of editing, and some who need very little, and it doesn't matter to me which it is, because what you are trying to hone and make the best of is their voice, their unique appeal. There has to be a unique appeal. And to me, it's what keeps me awake. You can't say what you're going to love. That's the kind of a bit of a frustrating answer for those people who think, oh, if she tells me what she wants, that's what I'll get her.
Yeah, that's it. You have to write what you love in the hopes that somebody else will love it.
You absolutely do not look at the market. I mean, I know there are certain genres where absolutely you look at the market, like romance, but don't. If you want your own voice to shine out.
When you're taking on new books, are you influenced by kind of trends in current publishing of that year or the past year, projections for the future years?
Personally, I'm not. I think a lot of the time when you're taking on a book, you might be publishing it 2 years down the line, and by that time, sort of if everyone is reading domestic thrillers this year, 2 years down the line, they might all be reading something else entirely. So I think you can have a sort of an awareness, and you should have an awareness as an editor of what's happening in the market and trends and things. But at the same time, I think if a book is good, then it's good no matter what.
Is there something that you don't like to see in a new manuscript?
Just for the sake of my eyesight, and these days it's different because I do read a lot of submissions on my iPad, but it's double spacing. Do not cram everything onto, a page, because you want to feel that you are making a lot of progress. It's just thinking about presenting it, and what does turn me off is, if you can't check your spelling.
What do you expect from an author, but particularly a debut author, in terms of their involvement in the project once it's been taken on board, and the publicity aspect afterwards?
I think it depends very much on the author. I mean, I think some authors are very, very comfortable talking in public, talking about their book, very active on social media, and that's all great if you are that kind of author. If you're not, then I think that's also fine. You know, we expect a lot of our authors these days, but actually I think, you know, we can make books work without an author being, you know, kind of very proactive and doing lots and lots of events.
I thought that was all very interesting. You can expect my manuscript in a year.
I will look forward to it.
Thank you so much.